Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Teach Me to Code screencast. This is Charles Max Wood, and this week we're going to be doing some stuff with star ratings. Hang on, let me start up this server really quickly. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building just a really simple star rating system. And what you can see here where we're getting started is if you click these, nothing happens. So if you try and rate these movies, they're just, there's no functionality there at all. And what we want is when you click it, for it to highlight a bunch of the stars and then send a request back to the server to save the rating. Now, this isn't going to be a completely robust system, but it's definitely a good start. So we're going to get going and see what we come up with here. So the first thing that we need to do is, in fact, I'm in the wrong layout here. Let's see. So we want to be in the movies index file. You can see here that the rating stars are just list elements in an unordered list, and they just have that class rating star, which gives them that background. And what we want to do is when we click on it, we want it to turn on a certain number of the stars, a certain specific stars, anything to the left of the one that we click on. So what we're going to wind up doing here is, so if I click this, then I want all the rest of them to show up. So let's go ahead, and the first thing that we need to do is we need to get some values here. So what we need is we need something like this. So we're going to want an ID, and for right now, let's just use movie ID underscore, and then the index that we're using to iterate and create these. But what that'll do is it'll create it so that I will be then the number of stars that you're rating something with. And in order to, well, I think that's it. I think that's all we're going to need for this right now. And then let's go ahead and open up our application.js file, and let's get started here. So what we want is we want a function where if you click an element, something happens. So in order to do that, the first thing we need to happen is we need the DOM to load. So once the DOM has loaded, then what we want to do is we're going to want to find all of those star rating list elements that we have there. And when we click them, then we want something magical to happen. So that's all that does. It just binds a click event to all of the star rating elements on the entire page. So then what we need to do is we need to get the star that was clicked, and that's real easy. The reason that we're going to the trouble of doing that rather than just using this is that this is the DOM element and not the supercharged element that you get out of jQuery. And then this may be a little bit confusing, but we also want to know how many stars this had. And currently the only way to do that is to pull that off the ID, which I don't particularly care for. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually do data-stars. And then if we come back over here, let's see. So if we come back here, then we're going to need to set that up so we have the data stars. We're also incidentally going to need the movie ID. So let's see. Looks like we got an extra. Oh, no, we're missing it right here. We need this to be movie.id. It's a good thing I came back here. And this is going to be data movie ID. And then we also need this. And this is going to be our stars. So and that's just I. So if we come back here, then we also need to pull that attribute off of there as well. So now we have all of these different elements here. And so what we need to do then is we actually need to go ahead, and when a star is clicked, we need to iterate over all of the stars for that movie and turn them on or turn them off. And if we pull up the public style sheets, application style sheet, and we look here, you can see that this is the rating star that we currently have, and the on class will just change the position within the image of that's in the background, and it'll move it up 16 pixels, which will pull in the next star, which is the yellow star, and that's what we want. So all we're going to be doing here is doing something pretty simple, which is adding a class. So I'm just going to use a for loop to loop over them. So for 1 through 5, what we need to do is if the star that we're looping over is less than the star that we clicked, then we need to turn it on. So there we go. And you just use add class to do that. And I just copied it because we're going to do almost the same thing here, except we use remove class to get rid of it. So then once we have that set, then when we click on it, it should just switch everything over. So let's come over here, reload our page, and when we click on stuff, obviously that didn't quite work. So let's just come back here and have a look. In fact, we can also inspect the element here, and we can see that the class here is rating star, and here it's star rating. So So now if we come over here, it's still not behaving. Let's see. Just had a pop up somewhere else. Maybe that's interfering. I don't think it should, but anyway. Let's inspect this element again. It looks like we have an error, unexpected identifier. Oh, right here on this line, that's the problem. So now if we refresh this, then you can see that when you click it, it sticks. Now the problem here is that nothing else is happening. So if we pull up our script server here, I mean, all you're seeing is the get slash. It's not doing anything else at all. So what we want to happen here is we actually want it to submit the ratings so that, you know, we can rate these these movies. So what we're going to need to do then is we're actually going to need to add a form. And the reason that I want to add a form is because of the authentication. Is it authentication token? Anyway, there's a token in your forms in Rails that prevent cross-site scripting. And that's exactly what you want to have here so that you don't get bogus ratings coming in from somewhere else. Now you can wrap this up with authentication and stuff like that and save yourself a lot of this trouble that way too. But in this case, that's what I want to do just to avoid those issues. So what we're going to do here is we're going to come back in here and we're going to actually add a form to our setup here. Now, one thing that I want to point out is that the form, I want to have a specific ID so that I can find it, because most of your new form or most of your new rating forms are going to have the same ID in the same class. So we'll set this up and we'll set it up so that the form ID is, let's see, what should we call it? Let's do something like this. movie.id rating, and that's pretty self-explanatory. It identifies by the movie, and then what we can do is we can actually set things up down here so that we have form, and we need to actually put an equals in front of it. Form for movie.ratings.last. So that way what'll happen is it'll either pull in the last rating that was given for the movie, or it'll create a new rating for the movie. So one way or the other, that's the way it's going to be. And then this is how you set the ID up in here. So we have an ID, and then what we can do is we need a couple of hidden fields. Do F. So f.hidden field movie ID, which will already be set because we either built or pulled in an existing one from the movie. And then we're going to have the stars here. And what I want to set up here is set up a form, because I need to be able to access this and set its value when I click on a star. So in this case, we're going to do form ID stars. And the ID isn't what's important when you submit a form anyway. The important thing is actually the name, and the name on that element isn't being affected by what I'm doing. So then what we have is we have it all set up so that when we click on something, then it can go ahead and submit that form. So then if we come back to this guy, then all we have to do is submit the form. We just serialize it and submit it. So let's see. We're going to use AJAX, and we're going to do something a little bit different here from what you've typically seen with AJAX. And that is, the type is going to be post, because it's either going to post the form back as a puts because you have the underscore method stuff going on, or it's going to post back as a post, and we want it to post back to the ratings path so that it will actually set stuff up properly. So in either case, the action is actually set on the form. So we're just going to pull the action off the form. And I realized that we're setting up, we have the movie ID but not the form ID. So let's go ahead and change this so that we're working off of the form ID instead. And whoops, double quote. All right, so sorry for the interruption there. So basically, where was I? So then what we're going to do is we're going to pull this the action off of the form, and we can just get that with an attr call, and then the only other thing that we need is the data, and we can get all of the data from the form by serializing it. And jQuery has some nice serialization stuff there too. So serialize, and that's it. That it sets it up, and it works just fine. So anyway, then we just need to close out this call. And then if we come over here, then when we click this, okay, undefined method star. Oh, hidden field star, stars. It should be stars. So then if we click on this, we're getting a failure again. Probably getting an error. Movie ID is not defined. Right. So the first thing that we need to do, I realized, is come down here, change this to form. Change that to form ID, and I'm going to change this to form ID too. And then if we come back over to this guy, then we can actually do a global substitution for movie ID. And that should clear stuff up for us. So then if we click on that, we come over here and we can see that it posted our form just as we wanted it to, and it inserted it into here, but you can see that stars is actually null. So we missed a step here. The movie ID is being set fine. The stars number is not. So what we need to do here is just make sure that we set the stars value, which is set the value and set the value to stars. So then if we refresh, click here, and we come look, you can see here that it is now, where is it? Oh, it updated and it set the stars to 3. So if we click one that we haven't rated yet, and then come down here, then you see that there's the post there for this. Now, the only other problem that we have is if you refresh, it's gone. And so the last thing that we need to do is we need to set it up so that if you refresh, then what it'll do is it'll actually it'll set those stars up. It'll add those classes. So the first thing that I'm thinking that we need to do is this chunk of functionality right here, this for loop, is the functionality that turns the stars on and off. So what we need to do is we should probably just extract that into its own function, and then we can create another function that when the DOM is finished loading, will go and find all those forms and set everything up so that it pulls the value off the form and updates the stars appropriately, because the value's already in there at this point. So if we just pull this out and then the data we're going to need is the form ID and the number of stars. So we'll get the indentation set properly. And then what we need to do here then is set stars, form ID, stars, and then down here what we'll need to do is we need to find all of those forms, and it occurred to me that we set all of their IDs, but we don't have a common class between them that we can use to find them all, because if we look here, for example, I totally love this thing, but the class here is new rating and the class here is edit rating, and so, you know, it's not ideal. So what I would like to do, and it's also a good idea since those are also used in other places, those IDs may be. So what we may want to do instead is actually give it its own class, and I'm just going to set that class up, or I'm going to look for the class first and then we can set it up properly in a minute. So I'm going to call it star rating. Let's see, star rating form. And jQuery gives us another nice little function called each. And what that does is it actually finds all those elements and then it goes to each one and executes this function on them. Whoop. So here we go. We'll just we'll get the form ID. Let's scope it properly. Form ID equals this dot adder ID. And then we need to find that one element, and since we're setting the ID explicitly there, we know exactly how to find it. String. Alright, so then what we can do is we can just do set stars form ID stars. That should be all we need to do. So let's go ahead and refresh this. And the reason that we're not seeing anything is because we never set the class on here. And so we do that the same way we set the ID. Star rating form. Is that right? Was it star or stars? Star rating form. Perfect. So then if we refresh here, then we see that it's set on these two but not on this one. And then if we click here, then it's set. And if we refresh, oops. If we refresh, then it's done. Voila. So that should get you well on your way to building a star rating system. Obviously, you can change it so that this portion right here, instead of doing movie.ratings.last, you can do movie.ratings.find by user ID, and then use the current user's ID, and then you can just get the rating for that user, and then you can set constraints on your ratings so that they can't be rated for the same movie and user ID, so you don't get duplicate ratings from the same user. And then just stuff like that. You can set up all kinds of cool stuff like that. Most of that should be a pretty simple extension of this idea. I haven't decided yet whether or not I want to try and extract this into like a Rails engine or some kind of plugin or something. I'll think about that, and we'll see where we get. But anyway, so that's basically that. If you want to see the show notes or get the code snippets that I have here, you can do that by going to teachmetocode.com. And anyway, this is last week's. And here's a little code snippet. I need to do a little bit better about formatting those, but I haven't had a minute to do that yet. So I'll figure that out. But you can get the information here. If you want to request that I cover a specific topic, then you can see that here. I've actually finished this one so far as I know, and I'm doing this one today. So it looks like the next thing in the list is Android application development, which isn't something that I've done. So I'm definitely interested in learning that, and we'll probably, jump into something with that within the next few months. It's probably not something I'm going to do right away, but it's something that I will explore. Let's see, what are the rest of these? So if we go to the feedback forum, we have real-time Rails, which I've heard of but haven't done anything with. Ruby on Rails internals is actually something that I will be covering in the membership site at members.railscoach.com, and I'm getting the rest of that finished and figured out, and I'll probably have the first video up. I'm intending to jump into the internals of routing and just go as deep as I can on one of the methods in there, probably match, to see how that works. So I'll be attempting that and doing what I can there. There are definitely some options here with real-time stuff with Jabber, XMPP, or there are a lot of options there. And a Facebook app is another thing that I'm really interested in. So anyway, some great ideas here. If you like any of these ideas, go ahead and feel free to vote them up, and we'll see where we get from there. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in a week. Thanks. Need expert help with your Ruby, Rails, or Sinatra application? Give me a call. My phone number is 801-367-6164, or you can email me, chuck@teachmetocode.com. Thank you. Do you want to learn Ruby on Rails? Then sign up for my 6-week course at teachmetocode.com/Rails course. New Relic is the leading provider of application performance management tools for Ruby and Java applications. Thousands of companies use New Relic RPM to monitor, troubleshoot, and optimize applications deployed either in the cloud or in dedicated hosting environments. RPM Lite is free, fully supported, unlimited time version available at www.newrelic.com. All the leading Rails companies use New Relic, including 37 Signals, AT&T Interactive, Shopify, OurStage, IGN, and lots more.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!
Hey, boo!
Boo!